One of the greatest stories ever told is a story told by Jesus in Luke's Gospel, chapter 15. It's called the story of the prodigal son. Now, we've seen that there's more than one prodigal in this story. There's the prodigal son that went and wastefully spent his inheritance. There's the prodigal brother whose resentment keeps him from going in to the brother and the father. But today I want you to see maybe the greatest prodigal of them all, the prodigal father. What am I talking about? Well, the word prodigal means to spend freely without counting the cost. Now, I used to think it meant wayward or rebellious or wicked, but that's not what it means. It just means to spend freely without counting the cost. And I want you to understand something. God loved both of his sons. The father in this story loved both of his sons with a reckless love that spent freely without counting the cost. And God, the Father, loves his children with a reckless love. He's willing to spend of himself freely without reckoning or counting the cost. It's a reckless love. Let me show you what I'm talking about. When the younger son went and demanded his inheritance, the father should have excommunicated him and thrown him out of the family, but instead he gave him the inheritance. He relinquished the inheritance to the son. That was a third of his estate, and it was his land. The word used for land, inheritance, in this passage means life, because the land meant life to those agricultural people of that time. Beyond that, it cost him his reputation. So it cost him his life, his estate, and his reputation. He would have been mocked in the community for not excommunicating the son, for being willing to give the son the inheritance in the first place. Beyond that, he received the son. It says in Luke chapter 15, verse 20, "The son rose and came to the father, but when he was still a long way off, his father saw him, had compassion on him, ran to him, fell on his neck, hugged him, and kissed him." Can you imagine that? He saw that son a long way off because he was looking, and because he wanted to be the first to get to the son, because if somebody else did, the village could excommunicate him from the village. But the father got there first. The father was filled with compassion, not bitterness, not anger, not hurt, but compassion towards this son who had rejected him, who had disgraced him. He ran to him. Now, first century patriarchs would never run, let alone run to a rebellious son, but he ran to him because he loved him and because he wanted to protect him from being excommunicated from the village. Beyond that, he hugged him and kissed him. He didn't hit him. He didn't ignore him. He hugged him. He kissed him because he loved his son. He spent himself freely for his son. Beyond that, he restored the son. He says to the servants, the father said to his servants, "Bring out the best robe and put it on him." Now, the best robe would have been the father's robe, and it would have been a sign that the son was now restored as a full son. Amazing. Put it on him. Put a ring on his hand and sandals on his feet. Why? Because this is a major event, a big-time celebration of restoration of this son back into this family. And bring the fatted calf and kill it. Now, fatted calves were very rare, extremely expensive. They were only would be given by the richest of people in the rarest of occasions for the biggest of celebrations. And he's getting the fatted calf in honor of his restored son. "Let us eat and be merry, for this son of mine," this son of mine. What a statement. It must have been beautiful for that boy to hear those words. The father was restoring him. The father said it not only for the son, but for the sake of the servants and everybody else. He restored the son. And then he reached out to the older son. We talked about the fact the older son refused to go in, which also was a mark of disgrace such that he could have been excommunicated from the family and the village. He refused to go in, but the father went out to him. A first century patriarch would never go out to somebody disobeying his desire to come in, but he went out to him. He reached out to his older son, and he reaffirmed that son. And he said, "Look, my son, you are always with me, and all that I have is yours. Son, you're still my son. I'm not going to excommunicate you, and everything I have has been yours, is yours, and you have access to me." Now, the sad thing is the older brother never went in. The glorious thing is the younger brother did go in and was celebrated. The amazing thing is there's a Father in heaven who loves you with the same type of reckless, crazy, lavish, beyond the hurt, beyond the pain that we've given him, beyond the disobedience. He still is reaching out to us. He's reaching out to you today. And he wants to call you home to him. Do you need to come home to the Father? His arms are open wide to you today.